Hi, this is Nehal Kazim, and this is the Ad Tips for Ad Pros podcast, where we teach entrepreneurs and marketers how to grow their businesses with direct response advertising. And in today's episode, we're going to be talking about the fourth step in the ad method, which is nurturing. And so if you struggled with decreasing your overall cost of acquisition, we're going to talk about 3 different nurturing campaigns you can implement in your advertising to help bring that number down. The first one is, what are you doing right now to nurture a click? And so when I speak with most entrepreneurs and marketers, when they're doing their advertising on Facebook, most of them still aren't doing any form of retargeting. So if you're a little bit more advanced than that, just stick with me here, because there might be some ways that you can still implement nurturing campaigns to optimize your overall cost of acquisition. So the first one, the easiest one, is what are you doing to actually nurture a click? Depending on your funnel, you're going to have the click lead to a lead, or you're going to have a click lead to an add to cart, or a click lead to a different piece of content that goes into a secondary page. There's a lot of places where that click can go. And so depending on what you're optimizing for, the basic thing that you can do here is, what are you doing in order to actually take care of that first click? Here's what I mean by that. If you're doing a lead generation campaign to content, the only thing that you can do at that point when that lead clicks the ad the first time is they're going to read the piece of content and go do the next call to action that you have. So if you're taking people to content, you might be trying to sell a physical product, try to get them to a webinar, get them on a lead magnet, and whatever the purpose of that click is, the next logical step, you can put that in your retargeting campaign. So what we usually do in order to nurture the click is we take people back to the same offer, we take people back to a different offer completely that's complementary, or we take them to different media and ad types just so that they're consuming the same piece of content in a different way that still takes them back to the end process that we want. So the first step here in terms of nurturing is, how are you nurturing the click? The next step is, normally after a click, you're getting some sort of commitment from them, whether that's in the form of a lead, whether that's form of an initiate checkout or add to cart, whether that's in the form of requesting any kind of additional information or going deeper into your funnel without giving you any information to contact them yet. Depending on the type of funnel, there are different ways that you can get that person to the next step and closer to giving you some sort of value or that transaction in order to exchange that value for money. So the second step here is, what are you doing to nurture that second step to closer to the actual transaction? And here's what I mean. If you have a lead generation funnel and you're trying to get someone into a webinar, what you're trying to do is you're trying to get that person to actually show up. And so when we get that lead, the goal is, what can we do to get in front of that person to get them excited for that webinar? If you're doing a lead generation just to get opt-ins, what you're trying to do is get them into a Facebook group, get them to consume the PDF or your video series, or open your emails, or whatever that goal is. So most people that I speak to, they don't actually know what the second step is after they complete some sort of that initial trigger. So that initial trigger, like I mentioned, is that lead, that add to cart, or whatever it is for your business. What you're able to do at that point is you're able to push them one step further. So the type of pushing that we're doing at this level is, we're trying to get them to either open an email, we're trying to get them to consume some sort of content, we're trying to get them excited by taking them to other content that leads back to an application, to the webinar, or whatever other piece of content that we want them to do. And so when we're in this second stage, now that someone has expressed interest, what are we doing with that interest to turn that into desire? And that is really the goal of step 2. Now, lastly, this is where there's so much money in most organizations that this is not really a priority, because people assume, well, they've already bought something or they've already given us something, they couldn't possibly want anything else. And that is the furthest thing from the truth. What we've seen is, as soon as we start actually nurturing and taking care of buyers, there is so much more money there and so much more meat on the bone, where that's where real profitability comes. And so in a previous episode, I was sharing that when we get a buyer for a e-commerce company, the example was a shoe company, within 6 months, they bought another pair of shoes. And that second purchase is essentially CPA or advertising spend free. Most of that doesn't actually require a significant ad spend, which was required to get them into the business in the first place. And so this reactivation of a buyer and getting them to purchase again is usually a lot easier and usually a lot more profitable because they already know, like, and trust you. They've already done a transaction with you. If you've satisfied them and taken care of them, they're more likely to continue purchasing additional products. And so depending on the type of business you have, depending on what you're selling and how frequently you're selling, what kind of product launches you're doing, if you're not taking care of buyers and providing them and delivering new offers to them or new opportunities for them to give you money, that's somewhere to focus on, because a lot of businesses, especially more established businesses, if you've been in business for 5, 10, 20 years, you have a customer list and you might have not been marketing to them. That's usually where we start with local businesses, because they just assume, well, we send them emails and we do call blasts and we do special events and that's good enough. But what we've seen is when we combine those same offers with Facebook ads, with other forms of retargeting online, what ends up happening is those people are so excited and so much more engaged with just an email or just a phone call. So that just adds another layer and another touch to your campaign. A bonus nurturing element that you can add here, depending on what kind of advertising you're doing and how big of a level you're doing it with, is that we're doing a lot of video ads. And with video ads, you can actually nurture impressions. So if you didn't get that click, you're able to create a segment that just targets people who watch your video but didn't actually come on to the website. And so you can even take care of those people depending on how much money you're spending and depending on how many impressions you're getting. So again, the different ways that you can nurture people here is you can nurture a click, you can nurture a lead or that first interaction that they have with you, and then you can nurture buyers. And if your campaign is big, if you're doing a lot of volume, you can even nurture impressions. And so I hope that helps in your organization on where to actually start investing more time in nurturing and where to get more bang for your advertising, and where to actually keep the momentum going in order to maximize your advertising spend. I'll catch you on the next one.